in the case of the Southport incident that saw 3 little girls stabbed to death at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. The suspect in that case is 18-year-old Axel Rudakubana. Well, something people might find quite interesting is that Prime Minister Keir Starmer hasn't yet commented on any of this. Not personally, anyway.
In the wake of the tragic Southport incident, where 3 young girls lost their lives, the political landscape has been charged with scrutiny and expectation. Today, we examine how Labour leader Keir Starmer has navigated this heartbreaking situation and the implications of his response for his leadership and the wider political context. On July 29th, the Southport community was shaken by an unthinkable act of violence during a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. 3 little girls, Bibi, Alice and Elsie, were tragically killed, and several others were injured in this horrific attack. The suspect, 18-year-old Axel Rudakubana, is facing serious charges, including murder and the production of a biological toxin, ricin. This tragic incident left not only the families of the victims devastated, but also the entire nation grappling with the implications of such violence in a community setting. As the nation mourned, the focus shifted from the tragedy itself to the political responses that followed. In times of national grief, leaders are often called upon to offer guidance, support and accountability. The Southport incident was no exception, and the political landscape began to shift as calls for justice echoed throughout the UK. Keir Starmer, as the leader of the Labour Party, had the crucial task of responding to a situation that demanded both empathy and strength. Initially, his silence on the incident was notable. In a moment where many looked for solidarity, Starmer took his time to craft a message that resonated with the grief of the families and the community. His eventual statement emphasised the need for justice for the victims and support for those affected, yet many questioned whether this response was sufficient. A spokesperson for Starmer stated that the Labour Party stands with the families during this difficult time, advocating for comprehensive support from authorities. However, critics argued that the response lacked the immediacy and compassion needed in such a dire moment. The public awaited a more personal touch from Starmer, who had the opportunity to connect deeply with the pain of the community. The response from Starmer has not been without criticism. Political figures like Tory leadership hopeful Kemi Badenoch and rival Robert Jenrick quickly expressed concerns about the adequacy of his reaction. Badenoch pointed to serious questions surrounding the police and CPS responses, indicating a need for Starmer to provide more robust leadership during such crises. The call for accountability was clear. Leaders must not only empathise, but also actively seek solutions and transparency. This criticism reflects a broader expectation for political leaders to take a proactive stance in addressing national tragedies. In times of crisis, the public often looks for reassurance, accountability and a vision for preventing future incidents. Starmer's leadership is under the microscope, and the political landscape is becoming increasingly charged. However, it's essential to recognise that the political arena is complex, particularly in emotionally charged situations. Starmer is tasked with balancing empathy for the victims with the demands of political strategy. His approach will likely shape how he is perceived not only by the public, but also within his party as they navigate their own challenges in a divisive political climate. As more details emerged about the charges against Rudakubana, including possession of a potential terrorist training manual, the pressure on Starmer grew. Calls for accountability intensified, not only from the police and prosecutors, but also from Starmer himself. Critics argue that he must take a clearer stance on issues surrounding public safety and law enforcement oversight to reassure the public and his party members. In moments like these, the call for reform often arises. How can communities better protect their most vulnerable members? How can authorities ensure that justice is served effectively and transparently? Starmer's leadership will be tested as he navigates these critical discussions, especially as the nation grapples with the realities of crime and safety. Engaging with affected communities, demanding transparency from authorities, and outlining a proactive plan for public safety could reinforce Starmer's commitment to justice and accountability. His ability to effectively communicate a vision for a safer future will be essential not just for his party's success, but also for restoring faith in political leadership. Looking ahead, Keir Starmer faces a pivotal moment. How he handles the fallout from the Southport incident will significantly impact his leadership and the Labour Party's positioning as the opposition. A clear plan to address public safety, support for victims' families, and a strong call for accountability from law enforcement will be crucial in the coming weeks. Starmer's ability to translate grief into action could define his legacy as a leader. With the upcoming court hearings, the landscape will be further complicated, providing an opportunity for Starmer to position himself as a champion of justice and reform in the eyes of the public. The Southport incident is a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the responsibilities borne by our leaders in times of crisis. As Keir Starmer navigates this complex situation, the eyes of the nation will be on him, awaiting his next steps. Will he rise to the occasion, or will the pressures of leadership prove overwhelming? Join us as we continue to follow this story and its implications for politics and community relations in the UK. The Southport tragedy is more than a tragic event. It's a moment that may profoundly influence UK politics. In recent years, moments of national crisis have often served as a litmus test for political leaders, shaping public opinion and voter trust. How Keir Starmer and other leaders respond to this heartbreaking event could impact the Labour Party's perception, as well as the entire political landscape. In situations like these, public sentiment often sways based on who is perceived as being proactive, compassionate and transparent. For Labour, this incident represents both an opportunity and a challenge. The opportunity lies in reinforcing their stance on law enforcement reform, mental health support and community safety. But the challenge is navigating these issues without appearing opportunistic or reactionary. Labour has traditionally positioned itself as the party advocating for social justice, with an emphasis on supporting vulnerable communities. This is a chance for Starmer and his colleagues to underscore that commitment by calling for more robust social safety measures, increased funding for mental health services, and strengthening the judicial system to prevent tragedies like this in the future. However, a measured approach is crucial. The public and Labour's critics are watching closely, and any misstep could be costly. At the same time, the Southport incident has intensified discussions about public safety and the role of law enforcement. Conservative voices like Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick have questioned the timing and transparency of the authorities' response, implicitly putting pressure on Starmer to take a firm stance. These questions could influence the next election, with each party trying to position itself as the most capable of ensuring national safety. In the lead-up to the next general election, public trust is a top concern. How the government and opposition respond to incidents like Southport could play a significant role in swaying undecided voters. People want reassurance that their leaders are serious about protecting communities, tackling threats, and holding institutions accountable. This could be a pivotal moment for Starmer to solidify his image as a leader who prioritises security, justice, and transparency. The Southport incident could also catalyse policy shifts. Labour may push for more comprehensive oversight in law enforcement practices, emphasising proactive strategies for preventing violent incidents. This could mean advocating for expanded mental health programmes, increased community policing, or stricter controls over dangerous substances. For Starmer, pursuing these policies would align with Labour's values, offering tangible solutions to public safety concerns and showing that the party is committed to real change. Such reforms, if successful, could improve the party's standing with both traditional Labour supporters and undecided voters seeking a government focused on practical safety measures. For Keir Starmer, the response to Southport is more than just a political manoeuvre. It's a test of his leadership and his vision for the Labour Party. If he can demonstrate genuine empathy, commitment to reform, and a clear plan to address public safety, it could redefine his public image and strengthen Labour's standing. The stakes are high, and Starmer's actions in the coming weeks could have lasting effects on his career and Labour's chances in the next election. As we move forward, the Southport tragedy remains a reminder of the importance of leadership in moments of crisis. Keir Starmer's response, along with those of other political figures, will not only shape public opinion, but may also influence the direction of UK politics. It's a moment that calls for more than words. It calls for tangible change. The eyes of the nation are watching to see who will truly lead with compassion, integrity, and a commitment to justice. Subscribe for more. Peace.